First, I want to thank everybody for being here today. I'm humbled by what we're trying to accomplish here, because what we're trying to accomplish here is nothing less than revolutionary. What we're trying to accomplish here is to create space in a system that doesn't want us. And what we do is very lonely. What we do as lawyers is very lonely. I sit here and I watch videos and I look at pictures of corpses with arrows coming out of them, where police bullets went through the body, where plaintiff's counsel attempts to prove to a court that it was murder and not justified force. And you look at the pictures of somebody's lips and their teeth that were blown away by a cop bullet, and it stays with you for days. And sometimes it's hard for me not to cry when I do what I do. I had to watch a video of the aftermath of the 19-year-old woman who gave birth in a prison cell at York Correctional Institute in Niantic, Connecticut. When Michael Ortati talks about maternal health, it's abominable that in the 21st century in the United States of America, we cage women who are pregnant. I don't care what they did. I really don't. We don't cage pregnant women. But here we are in the United States of America, in the 21st century, arbitrarily and randomly picking at people who may have done something wrong and putting them in jail and forcing their children into a lifetime of generational trauma. And if we can do something to stop that cycle of generational trauma, then we've done something. And it's very difficult. All of the systems are set up against us. The electoral system is an absolute wreck. The electoral system is just impossible to fight. The political system, we can barely get a seat at the table as we've been talking. And then in the judicial system, which is where I spend a lot of my time as a lawyer, we end up with judges that have been appointed by presidents who were not elected with the popular vote. We end up with judges who don't seem to have the same urgency for plaintiffs' issues that plaintiffs' counsel has. And we say justice delayed is justice denied. Like right now, I'm waiting 2 years. Billy Bennett was 47 years old. He did 13 years for shooting his ex-girlfriend's abusive boyfriend in the stomach. And because he had a sex offense from a previous conviction, he was sent to Brooklyn Correctional Institute. And Billy Bennett, while he was at Brooklyn, was begging. He's like, I can't swallow. I have something in my throat. My nose isn't right. He was begging for months to get an x-ray or to get an MRI. And this started in like January of 2016. By December of 2016, he's so crazed by what's going on in his throat. He's like, I think it was a pea that I ate from the garden back in June. I think there was something on the fuzz and I'm having an allergic reaction. A month later, he couldn't breathe. A stage 4 squamous cell carcinoma tumor so large had started choking him. And he was choked out by his own tumor. They called the code white and he went to the hospital, and the hospital did an immediate CAT scan and determined that there was a tumor so large that there was a blockage. In November of 2017, Billy died by himself in a prison cell. And I watched the video of him being taken out of Brooklyn Correctional Institution. And I've spent so much time in Billy's torture. And I'm waiting 2 years on a ruling about whether or not Billy had a case against the state of Connecticut. In this case, the Attorney General's attorneys, the Assistant Attorney Generals that I've been litigating against, I have gotten 2 rulings that they committed discovery malpractice and that they committed discovery violations. And I can't, it's just, this is why I'm doing this. And then I'm sitting here listening to Mr. Ortati this morning, and I'm saying, I'm doing this for him. We need 1% of the ballot in order for the Green Party to stay a registered statewide party. And it is my hope that by putting my name out there and doing what I can to push the Green Party agenda forward, that we create space in the future for Mr. Ortati and his generation. Because that's what we have to do. And I sit here and say to myself, if not me, then who? I joke to people, well, I'm the only attorney in the Green Party in the state of Connecticut who's got 10 years who's dumb enough to have done this. And, but at the same time, like the Attorney General's office is where the rubber meets the road on the state monopoly of violence. There is no point of view. The Attorney General will argue that is too outlandish, too absurd, too unjust. Alex Taubes is an attorney here in New Haven, and he has a case where a female prison guard in one of the prisons was making men masturbate in front of her. And he survived summary judgment on that, but the arguments that the state threw against him are just ridiculous. And you're like, how is this a thing? And William Tong has got commercials up on TV saying, oh, I went after the Sacklers and Purdue Pharma. Like, if you did, then why is the Sacklers Purdue Pharma building on the logo of Stamford, Connecticut City? Like, it's the lack of truth. And I'm not going to spend a lot of time because I have a child care issue and I have to pick up my daughter at 12:30. But I want to leave it with two things. Number one, politics is about coming together to solve common problems. And one of the things that I want to do is not invest political campaign money in information warfare, because that's all that we're seeing on TV right now is information warfare. You have these George Logan ads that are airing in places where George Logan doesn't even run for an office. And he's saying, I'm not a conventional Republican that you put in a box, but then he meets with Elise Stefanik, who's absolutely a lunatic. And you have Johanna Hayes' ads, and you have all these ads. You have, and nobody's telling the truth. And so there are two things that I want to focus on. Number one is that we have an opportunity. The Green Party has decided as a party in Connecticut that we're going to try and raise money for the Connecticut Diaper Bank, because diapers are a huge social justice problem. Nobody wants diaper rash. Nobody wants to be a child who has suffered through diaper rash. And I look at children who do this, and I'm like, if that was me, I would want you fighting for me. If that was my little tush, I want an adult fighting to make sure that I don't have diaper rash, because it's not fair. And it shouldn't be. And somebody, an attorney friend of mine, tweeted me the other day, because we have started a campaign with the Green Party and the Connecticut Diaper Bank, and at this point, 2 days into the campaign, we're 15% into our $10,000 goal to raise money for the diaper bank. We've raised $1,500, and $1,500 that's not going to go to Facebook, that's not going to go to Twitter, that's not going to go to Channel 8 or Channel 3 or anything like that. It's going to go to real human need, and it's going to help people. And I'm proud of that. And that's what politics is. Politics is coming together to solve real people's problems and to do it in a way that can be fun. And the second thing is we need to talk about truth and reconciliation. We need to talk about the last 20 years of American politics since December 12, 2000, being lost in a fog of mistruth. I mean, we might even go back to October 1980 and talk about the last 40 years of American politics being in a fog of mistruth. You know, somebody joked on the internet, Twitter the other day, that like every problem that you look at and you see, you can just say Ronald Reagan caused it. And Ronald Reagan only got into office because of the October surprise, because he and Henry Kissinger and other people, and this is fact, I'm not making this up. The former chief of Citibank has said, I went to Paris and did these negotiations with the Iranians in order to help Ronald Reagan secure the election victory in November of 1980. When the October surprise was negotiating with the Iranians. So we look at it and we say, you know, the Republicans can't, when they win the popular vote, it's only because they cheated. And then when they don't win the popular vote, it's only because of the Electoral College. And but the fog of illegitimate elections and the fog of corporate capitalism running our country for the last 42 years into the ground. We have to start talking about truth and reconciliation. And I think it was Michelle Louise Bicking who talked about neighbors fighting each other. And I'm sorry if I got it wrong. Somebody here mentioned neighbors fighting each other. We're not at each other's throats. We're neighbors. We have the same concerns. And we need to reconcile the fact that American politics seems in a cold civil war right now. American politics seems, and we're fooling ourselves if we think that what happened on January 6, 2021 isn't going to happen again. And the really important part of the Green Party right now is one of our parties in this two-party system has descended into authoritarian fascism. It has descended into elections only matter when I win. If I don't win, then the election was a fraud. And that's a really bad position for a two-party system to be in. And so we have an obligation here as a third party to create space and to build that space and to force our way into this two-party dialogue. Because one party's failing us by being authoritarian and the other party is sort of looking at it and winking and nodding. And it's just astonishing to me that we're watching in real time our democratic system, as loosely as it may be, a democratic system fall apart in front of our eyes. And so we have these obligations, and as Attorney General, I could talk about my platform and I could talk about things that I want to do in the Attorney General's office, because I have spent a lot of time litigating against them. But I know what we're doing is important, and I know it's lonely, and I know we haven't had a lot of success, but we have to do this. If not us, then who? If we don't carry this mantle and take responsibility, who's going to do it? There's nobody in the Democratic Party that's standing up and saying, we have to create other spaces. Like what happens when the second party falls into authoritarianism? Like we have statutes that say these authoritarians get to be registrars of voters. We have statutes that say these Republicans have the right to be minority parties in certain cities. Every city council in Connecticut has some sort of a minority party rule. And we have to, creating the infrastructure and the civil society capacity. Like if we listen to the Czech philosopher Václav Benda talking about parallel polis, like we have to build these institutions because, as Christopher Hedges says, the rest of civil society in the United States is hollowed out by corruption. And we could spend hours talking about corruption. But there's an urgency to what we're doing. And I really want to thank everybody for being here, and I encourage everybody to continue to do what you can to build the Green Party and to build space for people like Michael Oricotti's future and for Silas's future. And for, we have to do this. And I leave you with that. Thank you so much.